I've definitely nenever led a press conference.
Yeah, sure.
You'll probably close it too. I'll hand back to you.
I'm going to hand it off to Ms.
Yes, last year. I'll be there this year. Yes.
I hope I do okay for y'all.
One of the founders.
They give you a center of the camera.
And the current kitchen manager, too. But I did, Michaela.
Yes.
Yes, it's fine.
I'll do it afterwards.
You go. Savannah.
I don't know what's going on.
We're just going to do a press conference. You just come up here. These are all of our friends. Let me just...
Hi. Nice to meet you.
I'm Tony.
Hi, nice to meet you. How are you?
I'm well. I work at Zeitgeist.
Oh, where are you from? Superior Community Foundation? Okay.
Awesome.
Yep. Good? We got people coming?
Yeah, we got people coming.
Kim, back when we did Fair Food Access campaign,
You guys want to...
people that helped us do door knocking and community outreach for all that.
Let's do it.
All right.
We do outreach work in Hillside. Tiffany and Pamela. Tiffany is part of our team there.
So really, really, if anybody wants to say a few words, you can, but really, you just got to stand there and keep. Which, I mean, you're already doing a great job.
Trying to be like that. I'm trying to be like that.
You should probably get like closer in so that I'm not sure how it looks on camera. Does it look okay?
Yeah.
Okay. You guys have any notes for us? So then I'm gonna go and then pass the mic to Tony, and then Sean, and then you guys can all.
Tiffany, if you decide you want to speak to somebody.
Sure.
Everybody's phones on silent? This isn't new for me.
You already?
Do you need us to do any like mic checks or anything like that?
Sounds good to me.
Right on, right on. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for being here on this momentous day and the incredible opportunity that we have right now as we receive the transformation grant from the Duluth Superior Area Community Foundation. My name is Jacob Bell. I'm the Executive Director of Family Freedom Center. And while I have the privilege and obligation of being the one who's going to be doing most of the talking, Family Freedom Center is actually all of the amazing people that you see in this hallway, as well as our partners. We are truly a family organization as a whole. Family Freedom Center was founded in 2018 as the first autonomous Black organization in the Twin Ports. We were founded by Xavier Bell, as well as many of the elders in our community. FFC was founded to be first and foremost a safe and inclusive place for Black families to come to learn from each other, to teach each other, but most importantly to belong and to be a part of a community as a whole. The Twin Ports is a pretty cold place sometimes, and if the people are cold, it's even that much colder. And so for many of the families out here that we work with day to day, our focus is on giving them the sense of community that everyone in this community needs. Now, we work from a very build from within mentality here at FFC. Many of the people that you see back here, the leaders within our organization and our community, were actually once participants at one point. We joined FFC to find our purpose, and many of us did find our purpose in life and with our families, but also within the organization as a whole. The disparities that we face in the Black community are vast and felt by all. Many within our organization, those who work in our organization as well as attend, our families have faced poverty, has faced disparities in healthcare, discrimination, the isolation, the disparities within our schools. And while this gives us a incredible challenge that we have to face, it also gives us an incredible bond with the families that we serve. And it also gives us incredible insight onto the work that we need to do within our community to face these challenges and to conquer these challenges. And the work, that's what today is all about. With the Transformation Grant and the partnerships that we've built, it's about doing the work that we need to do to transform our community into the community that our families and most importantly our kids deserve. We're incredibly grateful for the Duluth Superior Area Community Foundation to entrusting us with the resources and the tools that we need to get this job done. I always say this grant is a direct investment into the BIPOC community, and direct investments into the BIPOC community yield immeasurable returns. And we're committed as an organization to ensuring that the foundation, as well as our community and our families, see the returns on the investments that are made here right now, twofold, threefold, fourfold. But in order to do that, it's going to take a lot of work. So over the next 5 years, Family Freedom Center's goal is to transform our organization into a hub for Black and brown families from all around the Twin Ports to be able to come to and exist, to learn, to grow, to dream, but most importantly to plan and to map out those dreams. Now, while we're doing this work as an organization, we're also part of a group. The Hillside Collective, which isn't always easy for me to say. The Hillside Collective is a group of partners with Zeitgeist, the First Ladies of Hillside, LISC, and FFC. We have a shared goal, and our goal is to transform the Central Hillside and the Hillside neighborhood into a destination for families, for diverse families from all over the world to come to. What we envision over the next 5 years is creating a community where new families move to Hillside because the families that are here are making it. But in order to make it, we have to be very honest and direct about the challenges that the families that are here right now face. Now, these are challenges in healthcare, challenges in home ownership, business ownership, education, and most importantly, as I've talked to, the challenges of the isolation that many of our families face. And so we've built the group that we have right now in order to conquer those challenges and to face those challenges together to build the neighborhood that our families need. So that's why we're here. I want to thank the foundation for their incredible support for us right now. I will say that this is just the start for us. We have 5 years for this grant, but that doesn't mean that we have 5 years to figure out what to do with it. In fact, this work starts right now, and many of the work that we have going on right now and the programs that we have going on right now are built in order to move this work forward, and this transformation grant is going to allow us to expand these programs to be able to provide the opportunities that our families need. So I say that the Duluth Superior Area Community Foundation, they're the first ones in the pool right now. And someone always has to go first. And we are incredibly grateful for them entrusting these tools to us to get it done. But we're also calling on the other foundations that are out here, as well as our local agencies, the county, the state, to see the work that we're doing and to see the value of the work, but most importantly, the importance of the work that we're doing, because we really see this transformation grant as a catalyst to move it forward. But it's going to take a lot to get this done, and it's going to take all of us to get this done. And with that, I'm actually going to bring up Tony, who is one of our partners from Zeitgeist, who's going to share a bit more about our group and the coalition that we formed. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you, Jacob. My name is Tony Cuneo. I'm the Executive Director at the Zeitgeist Center for Arts and Community. Congratulations to the Family Freedom Center on this wonderful award, and thank you to the Duluth Superior Community Foundation for everything that you all do to invest in this community. The community is definitely a stronger, better place because of your participation, so thank you. The Hillside Coalition is a coalition of 4 organizations, Zeitgeist, Family Freedom Center, LISC Duluth, and the First Ladies of the Hillside. And really what we are working to do, as Jacob explained really well, is how do we make change and investment in the Hillside in a way that improves the quality of life for the people that live here now and brings more opportunity to the families that live in the Hillside. And, you know, the reality is there's been decades of disinvestment and underinvestment in a number of the Hillside neighborhoods. And it's only going to be through the leadership and participation of Hillsiders themselves, working in partnership with organizations like Zeitgeist and the Freedom Center and LISC and the First Ladies that are going to make long-term sustainable change in the way the community works. And so it's our job to engage with members of the Hillside community and get them involved in the civic and community and business systems that will make long-term change and improve the quality of life for all the residents that live here. And while there are lasting disparities that exist in the Hillside, I think maybe sort of most starkly measured by a 10 to 12-year discrepancy in life expectancy to other neighborhoods. In fact, 20 years shorter than Park Point, which is literally adjacent to the Hillside. There are a lot of incredible strengths in the Hillside, too. There is a demographic diversity that is stronger here than anywhere else, probably in northeast Minnesota. There is access to arts and culture and the lake, and communities with improved design could be wonderfully walkable and accessible for all users and all age groups. And so there are these amazing strengths that I think Zeitgeist and the other Hillside Coalition partners are really excited to be investing in and building on, and to do that in partnership with Hillside members themselves. And over the last 3-4 years, Zeitgeist alone has had over 14,000 individual conversations with Hillside members, and then even more through our partner organizations. And all those conversations are about understanding what Hillside residents and Hillsiders themselves see as the priority challenges and the priority strengths in their neighborhood. And then it's our job to compile all that input and articulate it in a way that policymakers and community developers and citizens and Hillside residents themselves can use in a meaningful way to make change that is as impactful and beneficial as possible for the families that live in the Hillside now. And so we are exceptionally excited to be doing that work with the Family Freedom Center, as well as Duluth LISC and the First Ladies of the Hillside, and appreciate all of your interest in this project. Thank you. Coming up next is Samir, I believe, from LISC. All right.
Thank you. All right. My name is Samir Sheikh. I'm the Executive Director at LISC Duluth. LISC stands for Local Initiatives Support Corporation. And before I get into that, I want to send a thanks to Jacob, Family Freedom Center, and his staff for hosting us here, Tony for that intro to the coalition, and Sean at the Community Foundation for their support, not only for this initiative, but many of the ones that we have been a part of in the past and ongoing. As I said, LISC stands for Local Initiatives Support Corporation, and really the name says it all. We are here to support locally prioritize initiatives, and in this case, the Hillside is of utmost importance. We have many people that we work with that also either work, live, or play within the Hillside community, and the adjacent downtown community too. We know that priorities are shifting towards greater investments, and we want to make sure that those investments get to people and places that, as Tony and Jacob said, have been historically underinvested in. And so that's where we can come in and play a role. LISC operates in the lanes of economic development, family income, wealth building, and housing. And we have a team of people, both locally, regionally, and nationally, that we can connect to some of those highlighted areas that are going to be talked about moving forward within this partnership. Tony mentioned, the economic sort of disparities that that we face currently. So that's one area where we can provide assistance and support through capacity building and access to financial resources. So in that sense, we will help organizations with figuring out how they can work better. So we partner with Family Freedom Center, with Zeitgeist, and get resources to them that they need to make their work flow better and more effectively and efficiently. And then we can tie in some of our national experts from our LISC organization to help advise on some of the next steps. And all of this obviously is to make sure our neighborhood here thrives and sees new opportunities and can take advantage of the wonderful assets that we have and see really a new and brighter future. So we're really excited to be a part of this coalition, and some of the work has already started, and really enthusiastic about what's to come. So that's what I'll say right now. More to come. We're really excited, like I said, and I'll hand it over to Sean here, or anybody else. Tiffany?
You sure? I won't put you on the spot. I'm Sean Plurkey with the Community Foundation. This past year, we reorganized our granting into 3 areas. Opportunity, trying to remove barriers and create opportunity for folks. Resilience, thriving communities, thriving families, thriving people, bouncing back from the hardships that come. And belonging. How do we come together? How do we gather as people in a time that's fraught and fractured? So what we decided to do was give out larger grants in those 3 areas, and we wanted to do a transformational grant, which is why we're here. And Family Freedom's our first ever. And what we decided to do was put together $100,000 a year for 5 years and say, please do your good work. And people said to me, well, what do you want to do with that money? I'm like, I'm going to give it to people who have great ideas, who have great partnership, and who have great potential, right? So, end of my comments. You see why. These guys are together. They've got a bold vision. Nothing's simple, but it's leaning into difficult work. We're really proud to do this. I think philanthropy is historically kind of drops, short-sighted. Here's one thing. We like being larger, deeper, 5 years, partnering with community. I love that Jacob said we're investing, and I love that he said that we're first. I think a community foundation ought to go first and invite other people to join in, too. So we're investing right here and inviting other people to come in. I'm going to see if Tiffany wants to... No? All right. Jacob, they're going to ask you questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Was there anybody else that wants to share?
Anybody?
These are all of our staff, and they're brave enough to stand here, but won't make it tough. Maybe not. So, does anybody have any questions?
So I guess the transformation grant, what does it do? I mean, how's this going to look different from years past, the Family Freedom Center? How's that going to look different?
It's a great question. Well, I'd say first and foremost, we have capacity to dream more and to build more than we've had. We have a lot of programs that have already been established here, including our Startups program, which is an entrepreneurial development program for adults, as well as our Start SPARK program, which stands for Skilled Trades, Arts, Robotics, and Technology. It's a mouthful, but it's a big program with big dreams. This program is meant to introduce youth and young adults to technology-driven and art-driven career pathways. So these are the programs that we've started over. We're still a young organization. These are programs that we've started over the last several years, as well as a parents association for parents of BIPOC students within the schools, as well as a myriad of other programs, our youth programs, which serve 430 youth yearly, and their parents and their grandparents. So our first priority is to really keep these programs moving and expand them. But with the partnerships that we've formed, it's really looking outward. I think far too often the BIPOC community is seen as a community that needs help, and not often enough seen as a community that's capable of helping. And so as I kind of started off saying, we're a build from within type of organization that works for our community as a whole. So I think making sure that our families have the capacity to be able to do the work that they need to do internally as a family, but be able to serve the greater community as a whole. So it's 5 years. I think our first step, what we've talked about, is really bringing the community back together, bringing our core folks, our core families, even our kids and the elders within our community back together, because this grant, we weren't expecting it, that's for sure. But now that we do have it, making sure that we're doing right by our families. So step one is for our partners and our community and our stakeholders and our families, most importantly, to come back together and make sure that whatever step we take, it's doing right by our families. So hopefully that answers your question.
So all the programs before that were operating out here, they're going to be operating just like normal then, or just they're still going to be operating then?
I mean, like I said, our programs are always growing. So the idea is the expansion of the existing programs, but then also the establishment of new programs. We're beginning a first-time home buyers program for BIPOC adults. And this is a brand new partnership with One Roof Community Housing, who's not necessarily a part of the coalition yet, but we hope they will be at some point, to be able to really kind of look at the gaps in the home ownership in Central Hillside, but then understanding that first and foremost, education is the priority. A lot of our families haven't even been asked if they're interested in buying or owning a home. I think those are the first conversations that we need to have before we jump to really kind of driving forward a single program. So we're very much in a building stage right now, but as I kind of started off saying, we don't have a ton of time to build, because after this is 5 years, we have kids that will be graduated in 5 years, and we need to be having those conversations about what they're going to do after high school, whether they're going to buy a home here, go to college. So a lot of talking is going on right now, but I mean, we'll be sure to, we always preach our programs as soon as they come out. So if you check up on us online, you'll see the new programs that are being developed.
And can you talk about how much the grant is for, and kind of your timeline of when you hope to be at the end of the building and planning stage?
Great question. So it's a $500,000 grant over 5 years, or just shy of that. So it's a yearly grant, so we get installments every year. This first year is that building stage, but then by year 2 and 3, it's a lot more of the doing stage of this. I mean, like I said, we're doing a lot of the work right now with the coalition that we have and the organization and our programs. So I would say our plan, our idea is, like Sean was saying, is this is the first investment, and making sure that we can provide a return on that investment by other community stakeholders, both in the state and the county, as well as the other funders and foundations in the community, to be able to build off that. $500,000 is a lot to us, but this work is a lot more than that. And so that's really what this is about building wealth within Hillside and building wealth within the BIPOC community of Central Hillside and the Twin Ports.
A couple months ago, we were hearing there was talk. They're worried that the Family Freedom Center, they didn't know what path the Family Freedom Center was going to go. Was it going to be around even? Is this grant a result of those talks, and is this grant going to kind of squash this and say the Family Freedom Center is going to be going strong now, and there shouldn't be any more talks?
Great question. I appreciate that. Change is hard, and growth is not without its growing pains. I'll say that. We were founded in 2018, so we're going on 6 years right now. Our organization has been evolving and growing every single year with that. The Transformation Grant and the partnerships that we formed have been formed over a series of years. So I wouldn't say that those two things are connected in any way, but I will say that Family Freedom Center is going strong. I know that there has been some talks, not necessarily by us internally, but our priority has been over the last several weeks and months to really keep the doors open and to make sure that our kids have everything that they need and that they don't feel the effects of the transitional periods that young organizations go through as they're growing. And much of that, I have to say, I have to give mad props to our amazing staff that have been with us and served our community throughout these times, as well as our volunteers, which some of them you can see here, and most importantly, our parents. That we've had parents over the last several weeks that have came and pitched in to make sure that our kids don't feel any of the effects from the transitions that we're going through. And I think that that speaks a lot to how vital this program is. For a lot of our youth, this program is all that they have. And for many of our families, this program and this space and our organization is all that they've had for many years. And as far as the youth program here, this is all they've had for generations. And while our priority is to keep the doors open and to make sure that these programs remain the daily programs, we also recognize that we're capable of so much more than that. We're capable of so much more than serving a free meal in a basketball court. We're capable of things like entrepreneurship and owning homes, and graduating, doing well in school, and going to college, and making sure that our kids have those resources to see the big picture of their lives and where they're at as a family and where they're going. So that's why we're here this afternoon. That's what the focus should be. As my father said, you keep the main thing. And the main thing right now is this incredible partnership that we've built and the work that we have to do.
Can you put the, $500,000 sounds like a lot of money to most of us, but can you put it in a little bit of context? For you folks, what kind of how much of your total budget would this represent if you look at your annual budget?
Yeah, it represents a portion of it. I'd say that. Our budget, like I said, as a young organization, we've been growing a lot. I think our last tax return was about this upcoming tax return, I should say, we had about $900,000. But we're working to grow that every single year if possible. We've gone through incredible transformations over the last several years, as well as the partners that we have as well. So this is a huge catalyst for us, and this is a huge. 10% is a lot, and it does a lot, especially over 5 years. And I think that's really the most special thing about this grant is a lot of the funding that exists is not really built for long term. It's kind of an annual thing that you have to reapply for and kind of really work to make sure that you have that funding. So having kind of one less grant to worry about over the next 5 years is really a game changer for us to be able to create some of those long-term plans and making sure that the investments remain in Hillside.
Does this give you a more stable base then to kind of build upon? And I'm thinking particularly about the neighborhood youth services. There's some kind of little rocky periods there. Does this kind of help you build the organization and bring the parts together?
It absolutely does help. I would also say Neighborhood Youth Services as I'm sure you all know, we acquired the program Neighborhood Youth Services about 2 years ago. It's gone through a series of changes over the last decade for sure, and funding for this program has always been a challenge. The Transformation Grant is allowing us to expand the program itself, the youth center itself, and to really grow that out. But I can also say that over the last 2 years, we've done a lot as an organization to make sure that our kids in Hillside have everything that they need.
And with these expansions and with this grant, do you see it as, I know you mentioned 400-something kids and their parents and families, do you see this as helping out more kids or helping out these kids more?
I like that. That's a really good one. That's really good. I'd say it's about the families, first and foremost. Families are generations, and our community and our families are growing every day. So just in serving the families that we serve, our base is growing every single day. But we are also having conversations about our reach. You know, most of our families live in the Central Hillside neighborhood. I'd say about 70%. But they're also from Lincoln Park, from out east, from up north. So with support from grants like this, it allows us to be able to have a further reach, because we're really looking at BIPOC families in the Twin Ports. You know, we don't really confine ourselves to a neighborhood. This is where we exist because this is where the majority of our families exist. And as long as the majority of our families live here, this is where we'll be. But with this grant and with the work that we're doing, with the partnerships that we have, the coalition is really more about turning Central Hillside into a hub for families. And not just serving Central Hillside, but like I said earlier, families coming to Central Hillside for that support and for the opportunities that they can have.
Jacob, could you talk a little bit more about the whole idea of a community hub and a Black community hub, and why that's so important? And I mean, I think you already are a hub, but it sounds like you really want to make this a place for folks to come and be supported and so forth. But talk a little bit more about why that language is important and what you're really trying to build with that.
You know, we do very much feel like a hub, and I think in a lot of ways that we are. Family for Freedom Center is the first Black nonprofit to exist in this town, and just in existing and the work that we do, and with the youth center and the expansion to work with the families at the youth center, we have really turned ourselves into a hub without really even trying. But I think it's important to note that Black ownership out here is almost zero, especially commercial property and homes. It's almost none. I can count on one hand the Black businesses that own their property in this town. So I think that having ownership in the Black community is incredibly important to building wealth within the Black community. And just not to spoil it, but like that's our end game. Our end game is to own our own property and to own our own space and to build our own hub. But when you asked about the importance of a hub for the Black community, the Black community is probably the most inclusive community you'll ever meet. And if you know people out here, and if you know Black families out here, I'm sure that you can agree that it's an open door mentality. And that's really what we've always been as an organization. We say we serve specifically but not exclusively Black families. And we have families from all backgrounds that enjoy our services and access to our programs. And that's really what has happened in societies all across the U.S. is when the Black community is doing well, the whole community starts doing well. So that's why we're focusing on those specific challenges and opportunities that exist within the Black community. It's so that we can serve the broader community as a whole. But I think also like having that ownership in that physical space. There's not a lot of places out here for Black families to go. There's just simply not. There's not a lot of places for families in general to go, but especially for Black and brown families out here. We have some amazing organizations that are doing incredible work to move that forward, and we are proud to be partnering with them on that. But yeah, our end game is the ownership piece, because I think that's really what's going to make a statement and set an example for our families and the future generations.
So you want to own this building?
I haven't talked about that yet. You know, this is a big one. But we have partnerships with the city for this first floor. There has been conversations about the future of the Washington Center as a whole, and as long as we can be here, we will stay here. This is a great location to serve our families. Many of our families live right across the street. But I can say that no matter where we end up, we'll be in Hillside. We'll be in the Central Hillside neighborhood because that's where our families are.
If you guys didn't receive this grant, where do you see yourselves in 5 years?
We're headed in the same direction, I can tell you that. We didn't, I always say, find the grants to serve the purpose, not the purpose to serve the grant. And the transformation grant was actually quite easy to write because the coalition that we have is active, and the goals and the objectives that we've set out as an organization, but also with our partnerships, are active. And so that's the direction that we've been going. This just allows us to get there faster and hopefully with more security.
And then you talk about this as the building phase or that kind of thing, building part of it. What would we see first coming? What do you guys think that you're going to be working on first with this grant?
Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything. I also don't want to speak out of turn. But I can say one thing that the coalition agrees on, and we all have in common, is more of the community building programs. And so we have some programs and some events planned coming up soon that are really more about bringing the community back together as regularly as possible. So I think that's going to be the first thing that you'll see kind of a larger expansion on, is some of the community serving programs that we have. And then with that is those deeper conversations once we get the people together. What do we need to do to move forward together?
About how many families do you serve?
Good question. So we serve around 300 to 400 youth. Those are easy numbers to count because we do daily attendance. I'd say our families are in about 1,000 maybe total different households. But on a more regular basis, probably a little less than that. We do a lot of community outreach programs that, provide things to families maybe once or twice a year. But we also kind of count our families as fully engaged. So our fully engaged is anywhere between 500 to 1,000.
Sean, can you talk a little bit about just your thought in wanting to be able to provide like a longer runway for an organization like this to kind of really, be able to get up into the air and really get some altitude?
Yeah, I mean, how could you not, right? Like I said before, I think philanthropy is guilty of giving out kind of stuff to shiny new stuff, right? Show me a shiny new thing, I'll give you $20,000, and it can't go to people. It's got to go to this or that or other. It's not how we'd invest in our kids. It's not how we should invest in our community, right? Early money matters. I like that we're in the early money, right? You watch people trying to get places and you need money now. Money in 10 years is awesome, but it ain't doing nothing for you. So we see the larger amount and the steady and the here, do your idea, as kind of critical to investing right here with these folks in this work.
What gave you the confidence? Because you guys obviously really have faith that the Family Freedom Center is going to be the vehicle to kind of make a difference in the community.
Well, you've listened to Jacob talk for 20 minutes. You know the answer, right? And the partnerships, right? And the ideas, right? Entrepreneurs owning stuff, mortgages, equity, closing the generational transfer of wealth disparity. What's not to love about the idea? But to me, it's timely, it matters, and we're really proud of this, to be part of it.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you guys so much for coming. If you could, we don't have release forms for our kids, so I know it's really probably tempting to get some B-roll, but I would just ask you guys, if you guys caught kids in the background, that's fine. But but there are absolutely. I would advise down here. I have we